Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We have a lot to talk about today because all in the last week, the SEC has filed lawsuits against two of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world. And we are indeed talking about Binance and Coinbase. And we'll soon find out why things are looking worse for Binance than we may have anticipated. My name is Jordan. Dear Crypto is our brand, and we're all here to understand what really goes on in the Web3 space. You guys are what makes our community the most inclusive place to explore Web3 together. So before we talk about today's topic, hit the like button and subscribe to be part of Dear Crypto and support the channel. And with that, let's get into it. So let's rewind to last week on the 6th of June when the SEC filed 13 charges against Binance entities and its founder, CZ, commonly known to his 8 million Twitter followers, Changban Zhao. The report is a 136-page legal filing, and if you're really interested in going and reading all the nitty-gritty details, you can. This is the link here, and I'm on the official SEC website. But today we're going to go through a high-level summary of the allegations that have been brought against Binance and its founder, thanks to the Milk Road. So in summary, Binance is in hot water for two main reasons. One is operating as an unregistered exchange and selling unregistered securities. The second allegation is in relation to acts of fraud. And this is probably the more concerning really out of the two. So firstly, Binance offered the sale of securities without a license, and they knew that they were selling securities unlawfully. Now, this allegation does hark back to the fact that derivatives trading is banned in the US, and Binance was vocally encouraging US-based customers to use VPN or private network services so that they could access derivatives trading services and not be detected by authorities. And Binance, the Binance CCO, openly admitted this to another Binance compliance offer in December 2018 when he said, "We're operating as an unlicensed securities exchange in the USA, bro." So this is not good for Binance already. They've got things on paper that prove that they are not acting, I suppose, in accordance with regulation and with policy and whatever else. The SEC also came after a bunch of securities. So the top 10 cryptocurrencies, except for Binance and Ethereum, have been dubbed securities by the SEC. Now, this is, this catches a lot of people offside, this particular allegation. Solana, Cardano, Matic, Filecoin, Atom, a whole bunch of, really notable cryptocurrencies have been defined as securities. Now, collectively, these cryptocurrency assets are worth billions of dollars, and I would be very surprised if the SEC was able to go after such a large conglomerate of crypto assets, especially because its definition of a security was actually created when the SEC was created after the 1939 Wall Street stock crash, right? Cryptocurrency wasn't around then, and a security was defined as an asset that could be invested in and that people could expect to make money from. Now, as we know, fast forward 100 plus years, or probably just shy of 100 years actually, we have this brand new digital asset called cryptocurrency, where the definition of a security doesn't necessarily neatly fit what a crypto asset does, because, whilst we and many other people might think of cryptocurrency assets as just investment vehicles, the fact is that these cryptocurrencies perform, they have much more utility within the blockchain ecosystems they operate in. So the SEC, in the same week as alleging that Binance was selling unregistered securities, it also accused Coinbase of doing the same thing. So we think that these, in my personal opinion, I think this charge is a little bit rich. The SEC, headed by Gary Gensler, has made turned a side hustle into a full-time job of trying to bring the crypto industry to its knees, it's quite unfortunate, especially because Coinbase has historically always complied with the SEC insofar as the regulation has been clear. So this one, we're kind of going, come on, SEC, come on, Gary Gensler, this is a little bit rich. Binance has also been accused of letting users generate staking yields. We're going to skip over this one. There's a few other allegations that I'd really like to focus on, and these are the allegations that are really going to land Binance in hot water. The first one is that Binance has been accused of intermingling funds or commingling funds. This just means that Binance is mixing customer funds with personal funds. Not a good look for Binance at all, and it actually surprises me that Binance could even think that they could get away with something like this, considering so many transactions are recorded publicly on the blockchain, and Binance can be subpoenaed for all of its financial transactions and records anyway. So it blows my mind that there are people at the helm of this industry who think that they can get away with a lot when in actual fact they can't. So the SEC says Binance and CZ took the billions it made via returns from its staking earning programs and secretly mixing them in an account as a separate company that CZ controlled called Merit Peak Limited. And you can see this underlined here in the SEC's lawsuit filing, that 136-page report that we spoke about before. CZ also personally received $62.5 million from a Binance bank account between October 2022 and January 2023. I don't know what he's doing with $62.5 million in his personal account, but again, it's really not a good look for CZ, especially when Binance really prides themselves on keeping customer funds safe. And we're going to talk about the problematic elements of that word as we sort of move into the news articles. The next thing is that Binance.US, so Binance, it's US-based operations, inflated trading volume by using another company to wash trade. Now, wash trading is when one single entity or a group of entities, it can be people, group of businesses, one business, whatever, injects a significant amount of liquidity or money into a crypto asset with the intention of pushing its price up. People then see that, traders especially, will then see that it's experiencing a huge growth in price, and they'll jump in and start buying. Now, obviously, the entity that bought the asset at quite a low price benefits off that, and then once retail traders have pushed the price up enough, they will sell their liquidity. Again, this is, it happens in crypto, but the crypto space isn't as regulated, and wash trading is a bad thing. And if the SEC was created to protect investors from market manipulation and fraudulent activity, then this is the type of activity that they will be looking to hold Binance account for. So, for example, Sigma Chain, which is believed to be owned by Binance, the Binance CEO, that's based on my understanding, we should fact check that, accounted for 35% of all trading volume in the first 11 days that a token was listed on Binance.US. So that is a perfect example of wash trading. At least $190 million was transferred from two Binance entities to Sigma Chain in 2021, and the company apparently used $11 million from the account to buy a yacht with those funds. Not good, really not good for Binance. I think that when we're looking at Coinbase and Binance side by side, both have been sued by the SEC for selling unregistered securities in, Solana and Cardano, etc. But where the lawsuit filing deviates for Binance is it engaging in, nefarious activity. And this is not particularly new news. It's well known that Binance was encouraging its US traders to access derivatives trading via VPN networks. But, I think that CZ's following on Twitter and following in general, and the brand and the trust that Binance has cultivated as a brand certainly speaks. That doesn't just topple over when sort of one bit of news comes out. I think that true Binance followers and loyalists stay very loyal to the Binance brand, but to what extent, and to what detriment as well. So we're going to go into that. So what next? Let's visit this article here. I'm just going to scroll down, and I'm going to minimize myself as well so you can see the screen. So then 3 days later, Binance US suspends the use of fiat currency, which means that Binance has completely halted the transfer, so withdrawals and deposits of US dollars, and people will no longer be able to use US dollar trading pairs. So you can't trade the US dollar for any other cryptocurrency. And they said that they have chosen to take this action in response to extremely aggressive and intimidating tactics against Binance US. Binance US said it's transitioning to an all crypto exchange as of the 13th of June. Today is the 13th of June, at least in Australia. The US will catch up shortly, citing pressures from the SEC that targeted the company with a major enforcement action this week. In a tweet, the US arm of Binance said it's temporarily transitioning, blah, blah, blah. USD deposits will be suspended as of June 9th, and USD-backed trading pairs will be delisted shortly after. Binance was quoted, "While we remain open to a productive compromise that enables a thriving digital asset marketplace in America, Binance.us will continue to vigorously defend ourselves, our customers, and the industry against meritless attacks of the SEC." Maybe not entirely meritless, but at least part of it is meritless. Sorry guys, I'll get rid of this. So the BNB coin remains stable at $260 per coin, which, if you've been following BNB for a long time, is a significant drop from its bull market price, but still nonetheless it's held up its value. My understanding is that around 30% of BNB coin was directed back to Binance accounts, and a sell-off started before the SEC lawsuit was filed, which is interesting. So obviously the news didn't arrive to us, and people, the news was known to a certain few within the industry, and they started to take action. And then on Tuesday, the SEC filed a temporary restraining order to freeze certain assets tied to Binance.us. The two are due back in court on the 13th of June. And in the meantime, Binance will remain as an all cryptocurrency exchange. So the SEC is moving hard and fast. It's really forcing Binance's hand and forcing Binance executives to attend court and basically sort out or put as much pressure as it can on Binance to kind of clarify the allegations that have been made against it. So let's jump in here. I want to talk about this opinion piece by Daniel Kuhn or Khan. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Sorry, Daniel. Can Binance survive the SEC's charges? Let's go through this. So after the news actually broke, CZ made a tweet. He posted the number 4 around the same time that SEC Chair Gary Gensler was probably cleaning up the first of several TV interviews. Now, to most of us, the number 4 wouldn't make sense, but to all of CZ's 8 million followers, the tweet was really just a message, a joke and an attempt at reassurance. 4 essentially means just, guys, this is a message from CZ to say, ignore the FUD, the fake news and attacks. FUD, of course, a common acronym used in the crypto space for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Just ignore it all, and it's interesting that the regulatory attacks have become so common in the crypto space, coming from the SEC, that, the Binance CEO is able to just signal calmness and everyone just, relax with a simple number as a tweet. So in the days since the lawsuit was announced, Binance has stuck to its long-held talking points. This is interesting. The SEC is wrong for regulating by enforcement. Now, it's not technically wrong for regulating by enforcement. The SEC is allowed to launch civil cases against entities, and that is their way of enforcing regulation and policy. So first up, this statement is technically wrong. Maybe to Binance it's morally wrong, I don't know. Customer funds are and always have been safe. Now, interesting use of the word safe. They might be safe, but have customer funds been misused? Have customer funds been commingled with private funds held by Binance executives? And have our funds, or have Binance customer funds, been used to to make purchases, to wash trade, whatever it is, right? And the exchange's previous attempts of coming into compliance were thwarted by an uncooperative SEC. So yes, the SEC has attempted to regulate entities in the crypto industry before. However, it hasn't always been clear on its policy, and so it's made it very difficult for businesses operating in the crypto space to comply, because the regulation uncertainty is just so high, and the SEC sometimes, I think struggles to really define, how cryptocurrency should operate within its existing regulatory frameworks, and whether it should be allowed to operate at all. One thing that's worth mentioning here is you might be wondering, why did Binance and Ethereum get left out of being labeled as securities? My understanding is that if a cryptocurrency is sufficiently decentralized, then it can avoid being given the label of a security. So Bitcoin is quite decentralized, as is Ethereum, but this would assume then that all of the other top 10 cryptocurrencies, those 8 cryptocurrencies left, are sufficiently centralized. And now the SEC is trying to bring lawsuits against, what might not be as a distributed network as Bitcoin and Ethereum's networks, but, a person at the helm of, that cryptocurrency asset that must answer to the SEC's allegations. Really, really interesting stuff. So while we take the SEC's allegations seriously, they should not be the subject of an SEC enforcement action, let alone on an emergency base. We intend to defend our platform vigorously. CZ is typically quite aggressive in his defense of Binance, and always has been. Of course, some things are different this time around. I'm going to just skip past this, but it sort of alludes to the fact that in case CZ gets put behind bars, there is a man named Richard Tang who could possibly take over CZ in that event. So Binance, let's get past that. So the question is whether Binance can continue as business usual, and whether it can be in the long term a going concern. So we are really concerned about, I think it would be easy to roll your eyes and maybe even just conveniently turn a blind eye to the allegations that have been brought against Binance. However, in my personal opinion, and not the opinion of anyone else, I think that for me, I would feel unwise and possibly a little bit naive to think that, Binance is operating as they say that they are, but Binance does have a very loyal following. I just think it's really important to take off those rose-colored glasses when, things are happening in the crypto space, because unlike in other spaces, other financial markets, things move incredibly quickly in cryptocurrency, and we've seen exchanges be brought to their knees in a matter of days, minutes even. So, in the limited perspective of the author, given the seriousness of the allegations of the SEC lawsuit, over and above the bog standard, you didn't get the appropriate license to operate complaints that Coinbase also faces, Binance and CZ have been accused of endangering customer funds, enabling, if not facilitating, wash trading on Binance.us, improperly moving customer funds without consent, and a host of other issues. And these are issues, and they're valid issues. In other words, Binance's legal troubles are in a category above Coinbase's. The charges focus not only on the question of whether its listings are unregistered securities, but also whether it has misled customers about how their funds were deployed and whether it was implicitly encouraging US citizens to trade on a non-US based platform to which they were not supposed to have access. That refers to that derivatives trading again. Of course, Binance's reputation was already down because 2 months ago, the US Commodities Future Trading Commission also filed a lawsuit against Binance for improper licensure and offering US customers the wrong financial products. Again, relates back to derivatives trading and futures trading. It did disclose some leaked documents and internal conversations that Binance to be an almost comically inept company at some times and a cutthroat competitor that put customers' funds at risk for the sake of growth at other times. Now, again, Binance is a business. It has to make money. And obviously in the crypto space, there's a lot of money to be made. CZ, I believe, almost overtook Elon Musk at the height of the cryptocurrency bull market, and his net worth became astronomical. But when you are earning as a business and you reach that ceiling, it's then the job of the business to continue to break that ceiling, continue to make more money. That can be tough to do in a bear market. Experts are now considering whether Binance will survive as a brand. I think we just need to see everything play out. I don't think we should jump to conclusions about whether Binance will survive or not, but certainly we need to watch this news really closely. So it's worth mentioning that the worst isn't over yet. I completely agree with the author on this one. Binance currently faces 2 civil lawsuits, but it's also under pressure from the US government Department of Justice, which could launch a criminal investigation. Now, remember we said the SEC can only launch civil proceedings against entities. They cannot lay criminal charges on anyone. But the Department of Justice can. So whether or not Binance can be found possibly guilty of criminal charges, including that sort of fraudulent activity, is yet to be determined. It'd be really interesting to see how I guess members of Congress use the Department of Justice to take action against Binance. I guess, I'm guessing based on the SEC's advice. Asked by Coinbase whether just the SEC's lawsuit will lead to Binance shutting down, securities lawyer Brian Fry said it's a very real possibility. However, there is an army of people speaking CZ's language, willing to ignore the fake news, uncertainty, and doubt. I wonder how long that will last for, and I wonder how loyal people will stay to Binance, considering what happened in the past with FTX, with Terra, with Celsius. If the SEC wins in a case widely expected to run past Gensler's tenure, it could levy major fines against the exchange, of course. I imagine that based on how long the lawsuit against Ripple has been going for, that this case will extend well beyond Gary Gensler's tenure. There's sort of murmurings that Gary Gensler would like to become the Treasury Secretary, I believe the role name in the US is. So, it's very difficult to know how this is going to play out, to know how long it's going to play out for, if Binance will just accept a massive fine and crack on with things, or, they could even get fined into bankruptcy. We don't know what's going to happen. Given the SEC is claiming Binance US is putting $2.2 billion of presumably US-based clients' funds at significant risk, those funds could be disgorged if they're found to be connected to illicit activity. So, of course, those funds hopefully would be withdrawn from Binance and given back to its customers if there was any suspicion of foul play. Interestingly, it was only a few weeks ago, possibly even last week, when one of the 4 major banks in Australia, Westpac, banned transactions to and from Binance for Binance Australia customers. And they did this in among a whole bunch of other kind of like rollouts of the company that are meant to protect customers against high risk entities and high risk being, they've obviously labelled and identified Binance as a high risk entity. So that's quite interesting. No other banks yet have taken action, but certainly Binance's third-party support to make Pay ID transactions also withdrew their support from Binance. So customers can't even make Pay ID or deposits using Pay ID, which is an incredibly popular transfer method. So really interesting to see this play out in different countries, right? The SEC has pretty wide latitude to ask firms to cease and desist certain activities and prevent them from dealing with securities, which the SEC could do. A lot of money has been withdrawn from Binance, but at least at this point, it's clear that we're not dealing with an FTX redo, where the money simply wasn't there. The money is there. We just don't know how it's being used. Binance's auditor may have warned the firm against commingling funds as far back as 2019, but it seems the money was at least kept safe, even if mislabeled. So again, that use of the word, it's all safe, but it's all good, behind closed doors. We're keeping your money safe, but we're just, maybe mislabeling it and shuffling some funds around to use it for, XYZ business activities or leisure activities, if that's what you, I'm sure a yacht isn't a business activity or a business expense. Binance publicly denied mixing customer deposits and company funds, but it's still unclear exactly what Binance shell companies connected to CZ were doing wrong with the funds. So, interestingly here, Tarun Chitra, the CEO of Gauntlet, went on Unchained podcast recently and said Binance is the most trustworthy option when it comes to crypto exchanges, which is why it has grown to be the largest crypto exchange by a long shot. The accusations against the company and its chief executive are gross, but that doesn't mean you suddenly trust your small-time domestic crypto exchange anymore. So kind of encouraging people to go, don't act too quickly yet. Just kind of cool your jets, and we need to watch how this plays out. Binance is still a formidable player in the cryptocurrency space. For me personally, I have always used SwiftX. That's an Australian exchange. I've used Binance, but I prefer SwiftX's user experience. But SwiftX is built using Binance technology. That's my understanding. So again, Binance, I believe that SwiftX use Binance API. So there is a big web and network full of crypto exchanges that are all that could be interlinked as well, which is why it's so important to keep your crypto assets off an exchange, in cold wallet storage, in a hot wallet. We have plenty of lessons in Dear Crypto about that, and there's plenty of information on the web, especially at metamask.io. So does the average crypto user care that Binance used underhanded tactics to attract crypto whales? Possibly not. In fact, CZ's audience kind of would think it's funny. That's no surprise, because crypto's one big FU to the man and to the system, and so any sort of like naughty activity on the crypto side of things, it's kind of like everyone's in on this inside joke. Interestingly, Jake Chavinsky, the CEO of the Blockchain Association, said there's a pathway for Coinbase. Even if it loses the SEC suit, it won't have to register as a securities exchange. And Binance too may end up delisting some tokens, which might cut into its revenue, but the exchange could be forced to institute expensive controls that also sweep out a number of potential users. It's within the realm of possibility that the combined fines of the SEC and the FTC and the CFTC bankrupts the firm. So bankrupt Binance, and that US senators like Liz Warren will compel the Department of Justice to get involved. In a way, Binance has transcended. If the worst crimes it committed was faking the trading volumes of fake internet money, then I think its users will forgive it. That could, of course, be true. It all depends, of course, obviously, on how heavily the SEC comes down on Binance. And Binance is now the whipping boy for SEC's wrath, which in its hubris tried to bring an exchange with no headquarters within the bounds of US law, and it may actually bend the company into following the laws it always should have. let's see how this plays out. Really interesting, guys. I think just on a very, very final note on all of this news, the fact that there's been a massive sell-off among these altcoins or these other crypto assets that have been dubbed potential securities by the SEC, this has led a lot of people to jump back into Bitcoin to seek that safer, currency, digital currency reserve. And the Bitcoin dominance rate is now sitting just shy of 50%, and it hasn't been this high since, I believe, April of 2021. So if we just go back here, we can see that it's about 49, 51 there. Of course, it has been higher in the past when Bitcoin has been performing super, super well, but it's great to see Bitcoin break out here. So Bitcoin currently dominates 50% of the total market capitalization of the top 125 cryptocurrencies. That's what that dominance rate means. So on a final note there, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Please do share. I think this is quite an overwhelming piece of news for most to digest, but we in the crypto space aren't shy of that type of news. Hopefully we will get less and less used to it, of course, as the bad actors are plucked out of the space one by one. Whether that bad actor is the SEC or Binance is really yet to be determined by the legal system, by general public consensus. So very interested to hear what you guys think. Thank you so much for joining me in one of hopefully will become many explainer videos on what's happening. And if there is any kind of content you would love to see, I would really love to know. So with that being said, I'll leave it there. Don't forget to like this and subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye, guys.